Hello and welcome to the Fin to the Woods podcast with me, Finian Hackett. I hope you're all doing very well. It's lovely and sunny and warm here in the UK at the moment. That will all change in the space of about 3 days, I imagine. But currently, I'm looking out on my lovely sunny garden and it's joyous, it is indeed. But yes, I'm back for another kind of recapping of all the latest theatre news and gossip. It's been about 2 and a bit weeks since my last episode doing this. I've been quite busy doing theatre-y stuff, as in working rather than going to see shows. So I've not really had much time to be able to collate an episode together or just record one, but now I do have the time and we are back. I'd like to talk a little bit first about my guest interview last week with Kiana Jackson-Jones. I had such a lovely time recording it with her, and we had just a brilliant time chatting about all things theatre, and both of us being recent grads, it was nice to have that conversation, and it is the most listened to episode of the podcast since it's come back, which is really lovely for both of us that people enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you for listening to that, and if you haven't listened to it, do go and have a listen now, because I think it's quite interesting. I've got some pretty exciting guests in the lineup. I've been talking to a few people about coming on the podcast, and yeah, it's quite exciting. So that's all kind of coming to fruition in the next few weeks. So yes, watch this space for some more guests on the podcast. So let's kick things off talking about Jamie Lloyd. He is always doing some new production, and there's been a couple announced in the last few weeks. The first one being the news that Sigourney Weaver will be making her West End debut as Prospero in Shakespeare's The Tempest, directed by Jamie Lloyd, at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. I spoke about this in the last episode, about how Jamie Lloyd was going to the Drury Lane with some Shakespeare for the first time in a very long time, and that Andrew Lloyd Webber had been looking to bring Shakespeare back to Drury Lane for the first time in decades, and it's now happening with Sigourney Weaver from the 7th of December to the 1st of February. So a fairly short run, but she's a pretty big star to get to do any play, let alone Shakespeare at the Drury Lane. It's quite a big feat, I would say, so that's going to be interesting. But it's not just Sigourney Weaver, oh no. Once she's finished on the 1st of December, Tom Hiddleston and Hayley Atwell will play Benedict and Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing from the 10th of Feb to the 5th of April. I mean, again, brilliant casting. And the thing is with Jamie Lloyd, he gets these megastars to come and do things on stage, and does them in such a unique way that it's just, I think it's quite incredible that he manages to get all these people involved. They're clearly interested in his work, and they clearly think that what he does is good, and he gets them. Think Nicole Scherzinger, Tom Holland, you've also then got Sigourney Weaver, Tom Hiddleston, Hayley Atwell, and also on Broadway in the fall of 2025, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, stars of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, will lead Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, directed by Jamie Lloyd. Again, 2 pretty big stars appearing on Broadway. Keanu Reeves, this is his Broadway debut. I just think it's crazy. He's doing marvellous things, clearly, Jamie Lloyd. I've never seen a Jamie Lloyd show, but I will need to go and see one of the Shakespeares. Preferably Much Ado About Nothing. I think I'd probably enjoy that more than The Tempest. The Tempest isn't as well known and as regularly done, and I have to say Shakespeare's not my fave. I struggle to sit through one, but for Tom Hiddleston, I will struggle. Talking of stars, there is a play called White Rabbit, Red Rabbit that's going to be playing at Soho Place later this year in October, and the interesting thing with this production is that each performance is going to have a different actor playing the lead part, and there's going to be no rehearsals, no director, and the actors have not seen the script. They will step on stage and the script will be in an envelope, I believe. They will open it and off they go. I am absolutely baffled by this. I think it's a genius idea, and I know it's been done before elsewhere, but I'm really excited to see this, hopefully, I mean, the tickets will fly off the shelves because these are some of the people they've got in it. Matthew Bainton, Jill Halfpenny, Michael Sheen, Daisy Edgar Jones, I think that one's already sold out, Ollie Alexander, Alfred Enoch, Richard Gadd, Sally Phillips, Catherine Tate, that's also already sold out, Jonathan Pryce, the list goes on and on. You must go and have a look at the full list of actors, and it tells you what days they are going to perform. It's not a potluck, it's not like you don't know, you can pick which days, which I think is not mean, but I feel a bit bad for the actors whose performances aren't selling as well, because obviously the bigger the star, the better the tickets will sell, and I think it's a bit harsh to maybe pin it on who is starring in it each day. I think personally it would be more exciting if it was a bit of a potluck. Who are you going to see that day? It could be Catherine Tate or Jill Halfpenny, who knows, but there are a fantastic group of actors involved in this production, and it's a really cool concept and one that I hope to see. Over in Boston, The Queen of Versailles, which is a new Stephen Schwartz musical which stars Kristin Chenoweth, is having its world premiere, but they've already announced that the show will be transferring to Broadway in the 2025-2026 season. So that's avoiding the very full 2024-25 season, which is just stacked with people. It's crazy, but they are avoiding that, which I think is a very good idea. So, as I said, it's currently having its world premiere in Boston. It's about this woman called Jackie Siegel, I think her name was, and her husband David, and a 2012 documentary about their plans to build the biggest private home, private kind of estate in America. But the 2008 recession affects the fame and fortune and the house, and the musical documents all the tribulations that come with the house and the building of it. It sounds really interesting, and a very interesting idea to turn a documentary into a musical. And I also love the set. This is random, but I've seen photos of the curtain call, and it's amazing. It's like they've put the inside of a mansion on the stage. It goes up onto the ceiling of the auditorium, if you will, and it's amazing. I'm excited by the set alone. But obviously this is kind of we are going to transfer. It hasn't got a theatre, it hasn't got a specific date, so it might not be till 2026. It might be quite a while to wait until it gets to Broadway, depending on theatre availability and also Kristin's availability if she's doing other things and this, that and the other. But it's seemingly doing okay in Boston. I think lots of people have said it could do with some tweaking here and there, but that's what these out-of-town tryouts are for, and that's why they are such a tried and tested format in America, not so much over here. The most recent example of an out-of-town tryout here is probably Devil Wears Prada in Plymouth. That's done a month and a bit in Plymouth to get it ready to go to the West End, and it means they can change it and adapt it there before it gets seen by more people in London. It's a very good idea, and I think it should be done more. I mean, it costs more money to do it twice, basically, but it makes the musical better and often makes the musical run longer because it's a better show and it's more honed and it's just more together in general. So, yeah, so I went on a bit of a tangent there, but The Queen of Versailles will be going to Broadway at some point in 2025 or 2026. A new musical based upon the TV series Alfred Hitchcock Presents will make its world premiere in Bath next year, and it's going to be a bit of a whodunit murder mystery, a bit like the anthology series that the programme was, where it was kind of individual stories and little creepy stories from various different writers, and it's going to be directed by innovative theatre director John Doyle, who is famed for his work with actor-musicianship, especially Sweeney Todd and company. Sweeney Todd on Broadway won him the Tony for Best Director, and that company revival on Broadway won Best Revival of a Musical. It's going to have a score by Stephen Lutvak, who died last October, and he wrote A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder as well. So the show will be his final work, basically, and I think that's really lovely that his work is getting to be seen by the public and that it hasn't just kind of fallen to the wayside. I have to say, Alfred Hitchcock and musical theatre weren't two things in my mind that kind of melded together very well, but I trust the creators on this team, and I think it will work. It's just not something that I'd ever thought of before, but that's why I didn't create it, because I hadn't thought of it. But yeah, a new concept for a musical surrounding Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Heading back over to the States and to New York, Victoria Clark, the famed two-time Tony-winning actress, will direct Kate Baldwin and Nicholas Christopher in Love Life at New York City Centre Encores in March next year. So I don't know if I've spoken about this before, but this production was meant to happen in 2020, but was cancelled due to the pandemic. So it's been a long time coming, and since then Victoria Clark's been in Kimberly Akimbo, won herself a second Tony Award. She's been quite busy. She's also filming for the new series of The Gilded Age, which we'll talk about in just a moment's time. But this is very exciting that they're actually getting to do it. It must be... I remember I read something that Victoria Clark wrote, or an interview that she did, where she said that she'd done all the prep, she'd done all this work to be able to revive this musical that hasn't been seen in a very long time, and then it just got scrapped. So imagine all that work on one show, and it just never happened. So 5 years later, it's finally happening. So I'm very happy for all of them. And also, within that season at New York City Centre Encores, you've also got Urinetown, the before Love Life, and The Wild Party after. So 3 very good shows and 3, I imagine, very good productions. In the last week as well, it's been announced that Stranger Things: The First Shadow, the very, very, very successful West End play based upon the Netflix TV series Stranger Things, will be transferring to Broadway. It will start previews on the 28th of March next year and have an official opening on the 22nd of April at the Marquee Theatre. There's some argument, not an argument, but some discretion about how you pronounce the theatre, the Marquee Theatre. It's spelled Marquis, and some English pronunciation is Marquis, and in America they say Marquis, so I'm going with Marquis. That's what I'm going with, because it's just easier to say than Marquis. It gets my lisp comes back out again. It's very annoying. However, Stranger Things: The First Shadow, I've not seen yet. I've never watched Stranger Things. I tried to, and I just couldn't get into it. I'm not a big fan of kind of sci-fi, that kind of thing. It doesn't really do anything for me like Star Wars and Star Trek and Stranger Things, and all that ilk of TV programme isn't really up my alley, so it's never been something I've watched. And the play, as much as it sounds really interesting and really spectacular, hasn't really spiked my interest yet. Maybe I will go once I've made myself watch Stranger Things, but from all accounts it's a fantastic production and it's visually stunning, so if you get the chance, do go and see it. Now let's move away from theatre and talk a little bit more about, well, still theatre, but about Disney. So they've just had D23, which is their biannual expo for all the fans. They do it every other year, and it's always this time when they announce everything. They announce all the sequels to everything, all the new films, all the voice casts, all the new things at all the parks across the world. It's a huge event, and one that everyone always looks forward to if they're wanting some more Disney news. So I thought I'd take you through a few of the bits of news that might spike our interest as theatre people. So The Greatest Showman, this is probably the biggest announcement for theatre, is officially being adapted for the stage. It has had no timeline, no creatives involved apart from Pasek and Paul, who will be involved in the stage show, but apart from that we know nothing. We just know that The Greatest Showman is officially coming to the stage. Now, there are rumblings that it could be going to Drury Lane in 2026, I think I've seen online, but obviously that would mean Hercules would only be on for a year or so. But because Disney now own The Greatest Showman, they don't own The Greatest Showman, but they own 20th Century Fox, then it's still a Disney property, so maybe they will do that. And also, will Hugh Jackman star? I think he could. I think it's not an unheard of possibility. He is a musical theatre actor at heart and has done Broadway and the West End multiple times, so it's not completely out of the question. But to get the movie's original star to star in the world premiere of the musical would be insane. It would be great, but it would be insane. I don't think they're going to get Zendaya, and I don't think they're going to get Zac Efron, so I think we can hold off them. But they might get Kiala Settle to be the bearded lady once again and sing This Is Me. That would be a coup, but we'll have to see. But yeah, The Greatest Showman is finally heading to the stage. I'm not the biggest fan of The Greatest Showman, I have to say. I've only watched it once, and I haven't had any desire to watch it again. but I think that's because the songs are overplayed again and again and again and sung by everyone. However, it will make for a very spectacular night at the theatre. Also announced at D23 is the news that Frozen was filmed at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, and it will be going onto Disney Plus early next year. This was, I don't think, a really big secret because lots of people knew about it, but it's now officially announced by Disney that it's coming to Disney Plus. It starred Samantha Barks and the current West End cast. They filmed it for about a week, I think it was, earlier on this year, and they're obviously currently editing it, getting it ready to be released next year. I'm still confused what's happened to the Aladdin stage recording. So this was filmed years and years ago, and they filmed it with members of the West End cast, the international tour, the US cast, I think the Australia cast as well, or somewhere else, and they got everyone together, like the best of the best, to film the musical at the Prince Edward in London. It was going to be released on Disney Plus, it was this big thing, and then radio silence. Nothing. And I don't know what's happened to it. I don't know where it's gone. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a licensing thing. The best reasoning for it, I think, is because the show is still running on Broadway. They won't release it until it's closed. They're waiting until Frozen's closed in the West End to release this, and I think they're just waiting until Aladdin closes on Broadway, which is a good business plan because it means that. But then also, would you then watch it on Disney Plus and then go, oh, I want to go and see it on Broadway? Maybe. Who knows? It's also currently on tour in the UK as well. So there's a lot of factors into why I think that might not have been released yet, but hopefully it sees the light of day. I just think it's fascinating that Frozen's recording is being released before the Aladdin recording, which was filmed, 4 or 5 years ago. Bit crazy. And just a little bit more Frozen news. Frozen 3 will be coming out in 2027 with a sequel to that already in the planning. What the hell? There's going to be so much Frozen content, it's crazy. But I just don't really remember what happened in Frozen 2. And I think that's maybe on me because I only watched it once in the cinema. But the Frozen storyline was very memorable and iconic. And I feel like Frozen 2 I don't really have any recollection of at all. Did Anna become queen at the end? I feel like that was a thing. But what happened to Elsa? I need to rewatch it, clearly. But Frozen 3 will be coming out in 2027. So I've got a while to catch up on all my Frozen knowledge. Some film news away from Disney. Mamma Mia 3 is kind of officially in the works. I say kind of because it's not an official announcement from any movie studio. However, Christine Baranski, the film's star, she stars as Tanya in both Mamma Mia 1 and Mamma Mia Here We Go Again. Mamma Mia 1? That's not the name of the film. Anyway, she had dinner with Judy Kramer, the show's creator and producer, recently, and she is planning the movie, and it's a very active situation. And Christine Baranski basically says Judy Kramer doesn't plan, she does. So if she says, I want to do Mamma Mia 3, it will happen. That's what happened with Mamma Mia Here We Go Again, which I think was a really good sequel/prequel. I think they did really, really well with it, and it made it a really individual and interesting film. So I'm just so happy that this might actually happen because I love the Mamma Mia films. I think they are some of the best musical theatre films ever made. I know that's a very big statement to make, but they're just fun. They're not trying to be anything more than fun and camp, and you can tell that the cast are always having a brilliant time. So if this does happen, I will be a very happy man. A classic movie musical will also be returning, but in a very different form. So The Wizard of Oz, the 1939 movie musical that starred Judy Garland as Dorothy, will reportedly, according to the New York Post, be making an appearance at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Now, if you haven't seen this, let me explain. It's this huge sphere, funnily enough, in Las Vegas that they've built, which is a stadium turned cinema turned everything. The outside is all a big screen, so they can put anything they want on it, and the inside is also all screen. The scene, it's insane. You must Google it if you haven't seen, because there's some amazing videos. I think U2 did the inaugural concerts there, and they looked incredible. But apparently they're gonna change The Wizard of Oz to work in that space and re-edit it so it works on the screens inside the sphere, which sounds like a gay fever dream. But I just don't understand how it's going to work particularly, but they must have the technology to do it. However, I do want to visit the Sphere, and there were plans to build one, I think, near where the Olympic Park is, and these never came to fruition. I think they were pushed away by the council because, I mean, it's an ugly building, let's be honest. It's fun, but it is ugly. A couple of bits of cancellation news that I thought you might like to know. Barrett Wilbert Weed, who has starred in Heathers and Mean Girls, was meant to headline a concert at the London Palladium on September 1st, but this has now been cancelled. The statement on the theatre's website says the promoters have taken the decision to cancel this event. That is all the information they're giving us, and they're not giving away much, which I think's bizarre. You'd think there'd be some sort of explanation why it's been cancelled, but it's just that promoters have decided to cancel it. I don't think it was selling particularly well by all accounts. I mean, the London Palladium is a big venue to fill, and Barrett Wilbert Weed doesn't necessarily have a huge UK audience big enough to fill the London Palladium. Maybe a smaller venue or a cabaret venue, yes, but I don't think she has enough to really fill the London Palladium. Maybe that was part of it. I'm just purely speculating. However, that concert is no longer going ahead. And also, sadly, over the last couple of weeks, a West End musical which was meant to run till September 21st had to close early. Your Lie in April closed on August 11th. And it only opened on July the 5th. It was a very short run, and it was based on a manga, and it had music and lyrics by Frank Wildhorn, and it was supposedly very good. It had a concert run at the Drury Lane earlier on this year, which led to this full-scale production, but unfortunately they had to close early. Such a shame. No one ever wants a show to shut early, no matter what the situation is. And I feel for everyone involved because they thought they had job security until near the end of September, and that was cut short by a month and a week or so. So it's just shit, isn't it, really? So, yeah, not a wonderful time for the Your Lie in April company. Some new tours have also been announced. There's been a lot of theatre news, as you can gather. The Shark is Broken will tour the UK in 2025 to mark 50 years of Jaws. This was a very successful play in the West End recently, and then it played Broadway recently too, and I'm glad it's touring because I never got to see it in either place. And it's going to be opening at the Oxford Playhouse on the 23rd of January and going to places like Nottingham, Guildford, Canterbury, Newcastle, Brighton, Dublin, the lot. A full extensive UK and Ireland tour, so make sure you catch that. 2 Broadway musicals from this past season have also announced tours. The Notebook will be going on a North American tour starting in September 2025, and around the same time, Water for Elephant, which is currently playing on Broadway, will start its tour in Baltimore. So lots of tours for everyone to go and see. Let's talk books. I know that sounds really random. I'm currently reading Murder, She Wrote novels. So the TV series Murder, She Wrote is one of my favourite programmes ever. I love it, of course, because Angela Lansbury is in it. But there are books. There's 60 Murder, She Wrote books, which are individual stories separate to the TV series. And they're so good. They're such quick and easy murder mystery reads. And I love them. I'm getting through them very quickly. I've only read 3, so not that quickly, but quickly enough. But that is what I'm reading at the moment. But in 2026... I will be reading Liza Minnelli's memoir, which is being released in the spring of that year. This is a long time coming. She has had an incredible career, and finally, a bit like Barbra Streisand's one, it will reveal a lot that we want to know, and lots of, not secrets necessarily, but insight into her life. Cher is also releasing a memoir as well, but in 2 parts. There's so much to her career. Anyway, Liza Minnelli said in a statement, which I think is quite interesting, she said this: "Since I was old enough to put pencil to paper, people asked me to write books about my career, my life, my loves, my family. Absolutely not. Tell it when I'm gone was my philosophy. So why did I change my mind? A sabotaged appearance at the Oscars in front of billions of people, a film with twisted half-truths, and a recent miniseries that just didn't get it right. All made by people who didn't know my family and don't really know me. Finally, I was mad as hell. Over dinner one night, I decided it's my own damn story. I'm going to share it with you because of all the love you've given me." A very interesting statement from Liza Minnelli. A lot of questions being raised from that statement alone. I'm intrigued by the sabotaged Oscars appearance when I'm assuming she's referring to the one with Lady Gaga, but I wasn't quite sure why that was sabotaged. That'd be interesting. The film with twisted half-truths, I'm imagining, is Judy, the film that starred Renee Zellweger, which won her an Oscar. And the mini-series, maybe, what was it, Houston, where Krista Rodriguez played Liza Minnelli. Maybe it's that. I'm not too sure. But the book will reveal all. But we've got to wait a couple of years until the book comes out. Maybe a year and a half, really. But it's going to be a very interesting read by the sounds of things. Over in the land of TV, The Gilded Age has added some new cast members, including Tony winner Andrea Martin and Tony winner Leslie Uggams. And I'm watching season 2 currently of The Gilded Age, and it's much better than season 1. Not much better because the season 1 was bad, but I'm just enjoying season 2 even more. I think because now I know the characters, you can kind of get into it a bit more, and you know what you're going into, and you know the relationships. It's always hard with a new series you have to learn all the backstory to the characters, even when you don't know who they are, and I find that quite difficult sometimes, but now it feels like everyone's a bit more settled in the programme, and even more Tony winners, it'll be magic. And current star of The Gilded Age, two-time Tony winner Michael Cerverus, is going to join the Broadway cast of the new Tammy Faye musical as Reverend Jerry Falwell. So, yeah, more Gilded Age people doing extremely well. And Hulu has picked up the pilot Mid-Century Modern for a full series. So this is a new comedy that stars Nathan Lane, Matt Bomer, Nathan Lee Graham and Linda Lavin. And it's being kind of hailed as the modern day Golden Girls and follows 3 best friends who decide to live together after the death of a fellow friend, and they share their Palm Springs residence with Nathan Lane's character's mother, Sybil, who's played by Linda Lavin. And this sounds right up my street, and the fact it's been given a full series order is very exciting and seems like something that I will enjoy. It's from the producers of Will and Grace, another brilliant programme, and also Ryan Murphy as well, who's kind of a bit of a stalwart around TV all the time at the moment. But yeah, another series to keep your eye out for. Let's talk a bit about some theatre buildings news. You know I like talking about this. But the first one is a bit sad. Well, they're both a bit sad today. The Theatre Cafe Diner is set to close. So this only opened in October 2022 and will close on the 1st of September. So a very short, less than 2 years open in London. And this is due to essential building works to the building that needed to be done that would have taken months and would have meant the cafe and diner had to close for months, so it just wouldn't have been viable. So they've taken a decision to leave the premises and close the diner. And this comes after the Theatre Cafe itself closed in St Martin's Lane due to rent issues, and that was very sudden, and that suddenly closed. So now there's no Theatre Cafe and no Theatre Cafe Diner, which I know they're very, very popular. I've never been to either, actually, but I know they're very popular amongst theatregoers and people going to London to see many shows, and they used to do concerts and events, and it was a really great idea, and now we don't have either. So hopefully they'll find another place, and they will come back. The other piece of theatre building news that has come onto my radar this past week is the sale of the Seven Dials Playhouse. So this is in Covent Garden, and it's been put up for sale. Well, the long lease has been put up for sale for £4 million, and this was formerly known as the Actors Centre, and lots of people have been campaigning against this sale and against Seven Dials Playhouse, really. Judi Dench, Giles Terrera, Anthony Hopkins, Sheila Hancock have all spoken out against the sale of the Playhouse. They previously criticised it for the change of the venue from the Actors Centre to the Playhouse and the axing of weekly actor training programmes at the venue, which were a bit of a kind of tradition and really integral to lots of people's careers, and then they just scrapped them when it just became a venue. Even Equity have critiqued the sale of the lease and said there is no plan, there's no answer to what is going on, why is this happening. It's all very sudden and very confusing why this sale of the long lease is happening. It maybe won't happen now that it's in the public eye and there's been maybe more spotlight shone in it. Hopefully we get a few more answers, but currently we don't know a lot. But hopefully in the next few weeks we'll find out a bit more. And let's wrap things up with a bit of casting news. There's been quite a lot, so I've condensed it a little bit. We start off with the Book of Mormon UK and International Tour, which has announced its cast, including my friend Daniel George Wright, who is a GSA alumni like myself, and he is going to be starring in that tour, and it starts in September in Manchester and then goes all over the place. And also Becoming Nancy in Birmingham has announced its complete cast for the UK premiere, including my friends Isaac Elder, Ollie Hart-Bradford, Lucas Impey and Harry Warburton, and they will be performing in that from the beginning of October at the Birmingham Rep. So yes, very happy for all my wonderful friends and GSA alumni and co who are doing very well at the moment. Whoopi Goldberg will play Miss Hannigan in the New York City stop on the Annie tour. So this is going to be at Madison Square Garden from December the 11th to January 5th. I think the production opens a few days before that, but Whoopi Goldberg isn't in it till December the 11th. I think this is genius casting. I think she'll be marvellous as Miss Hannigan. And I think she'll be funny, and I really hope there is some footage of it. Someone bootleg it, please. I know I shouldn't encourage that. I shouldn't. You did not hear that from me. But please, please. Caroline Bowman will be the standby for the role of Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard on Broadway. She's a brilliant actress if you've not heard of her. She's starred as Elsa in the US tour of Frozen and also as Ava Perón in Evita. Her Rainbow High, which is on YouTube, go and watch it. It's a masterclass on how to sing that song. I think it's interesting that she's going to be the standby for Norma Desmond and not the previously announced Mandy Gonzalez, who is guest starring. So Mandy Gonzalez is doing one show a week, Nicole Scherzinger is doing the rest, and then Caroline Bowman will be sitting in the dressing room, I imagine, waiting to go on at some point. But do they ask Mandy Gonzalez first to go on and then Caroline Bowman? I don't know how it works. We shall see. And TV star Alyssa Milano will be making her Broadway debut in the one-stop shop for Broadway debuts, Chicago. She will be playing Roxy Hart from September the 16th to November the 10th. This week's vaguely fun fact comes from the Miss Hannigan story with Whoopi Goldberg. It got me looking into the cast of Annie on Broadway. And did you know that actual baby June from the musical Gypsy, June Havoc, the actual person that the character in the show is based upon, was the final actress to play Miss Hannigan in the original Broadway run of Annie? I didn't know that until the other day, and I thought it was quite interesting. Whew, there was a lot of theatre news there that I've condensed into this episode, but there you go, another week of talking about all things theatre. I hope you enjoyed, and remember to rate the podcast, share with your friends, and let me know that you are enjoying. I will see you very soon for another interview episode. I will keep it under wraps who it is, but it's quite exciting, and also for another episode like this, summing up everything that's been going on recently in the world of theatre. I'll talk to you soon.